Hi, my name is Angel. Welcome back to my channel. If you've watched any of my videos recently, you might have heard me mention this a few times, but October is a very busy reading month for me, and in the month of October I will be reading nothing but horror. However, I did have a few spooky romance books on my TBR that I still wanted to get to during the spooky season. So I figured I'm going to squeeze them all in before October 1st and obviously make a reading vlog out of it. So let's talk about the TBR. First up is Happy Medium by Sarah Adler. This, I think, is about this. What is this about? A clever con artist must convince a skeptical, sexy farmer of his property's resident real-life ghost if she's to save them all from a fate worse than death. So our main character is like a fake psychic, I think, and she has to go and like kick the ghost out, but then it's actually a real ghost, and I don't know, it sounds really, really fun. Then we have Do Your Worst by Rosie Danan, which I think is a little bit similar. This one says, sparks fly when an occult expert and a disgraced archaeologist become enemies with benefits in this steamy romance from go-to author Rosie Danan. So I have read Rosie Danan's book, The Roommate, so I am expecting this one to be, as I said, a little bit steamy, but I'm very excited. Next up, I'm not 100% sure if this counts as spooky, but it is a paranormal romance. This is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I just read The 7-Year Slip earlier this year and really, really loved it. It was a 5-star romance for me, so I've been really wanting to read her other books, and I know this one was very, very popular. It still is very, very popular. And I guess it's about this girl that falls in love with a ghost. So there's that one. And then lastly, this is another book that I'm not entirely sure if it counts as like a spooky romance, but on my Kindle I will be reading My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey. This is about a romance that happens, but it's also like a murder mystery. These people go on vacation and they find like a dead body, so now they have to kind of solve the mystery, but then there's also a budding romance in there. So I feel like that counts because that's a little bit spooky, because how often do romance books involve murder? So that is my TBR for the next week or so. I will see you guys in just a little bit when I start the first book. So I had sort of a hard time trying to decide which book I wanted to start off with for this video, but I decided on Happy Medium by Sarah Adler. I just thought the premise sounded really, really fun and very interesting. I mean, obviously I'm interested in all these books, they're on my TBR, but this one just seemed like really fun, and it's like really floppy, and that also helped to convince me to read this one. I'm about 30% of the way through it now. I'm on page 126. One thing I love about romances is I know they'll always be a quick read. Like if I need a quick light read, I can always pick up a romance. Basically, our main character, I'm trying to think of her name, Gretchen, there we go. Gretchen, she is pretty much a con artist. Like she is a fake spiritual medium. So she has these wealthy clients that come in to contact their dead relatives, and she basically scams them. However, she does have one rule when it comes to this, and she says like her rule is to leave people better off than they were when they found her. So if she can bring some comfort to them by pretending to speak to their dead relatives, then in her mind it makes it okay. So she gets asked by one of her best clients to go out to this farm because the owner of the farm is trying to sell it, and strange things keep happening every time a prospective buyer comes by. So she goes there, thinks it'll be a quick, easy job, and she's getting paid a lot of money for this, and then she runs into a real life ghost. The first time she's ever actually seen a ghost, and he tells her that he's stuck there because there's a curse that this farm has to remain in the family, and anybody that leaves the farm with no intention of returning will then die. So now she's working with this ghost to try to convince this guy, who is a total non-believer, that he can't sell his farm and he has to stay there because there's a curse. So that's where we're at right now. Our main male character, his name is Charlie, and he is this farmer. It's a goat farm. And he, like I said, he's a non-believer, and he thinks that what she is doing is wrong. Obviously, like, he doesn't know that she's actually a con artist, but he does believe that she's a con artist, and he does not support that. So there's a lot of tension between the two, because clearly they don't like each other, but she is, for his own good, even though he doesn't know it, trying to convince him of this ghost. And the ghost character is really fun. Like, he's definitely like the comedic relief, like very silly, always making like pop culture references, loves to watch TV and sitcoms. Honestly, other than that, I don't really have a lot to say about it. I'm just curious to see where it goes. I think this is definitely going to be like a slow burn romance because they really dislike each other, but Charlie definitely has like that more caring side that Gretchen is trying to bring out. So that's where we're at. I just wanted to do a little update because I am a decent chunk into the story. I'm gonna keep reading this and see how far I can get tonight. Honestly, like, I feel like if I work really hard, I could finish it, but I'm not going to plan on that. But I am going to keep reading, and I will see you guys later at some point. Hi, I am back with some updates. I am now 245 pages through Happy Medium, and I'm really enjoying it. Honestly, the characters have grown on me, especially, I was literally just reading this, why can't I remember their names? Charlie, especially Charlie. I really like Charlie, and I like the goat farm aspect of it because the goats are so cute. Gretchen, I'm still a little bit unsure how I feel about her as a character because I think she's definitely got some flawed morals when it comes to like her business and essentially scamming people. And I think, you know, she has this thing, like I told you guys, where she wants to leave people better off than how she found them, but in my personal opinion, I don't think that's true for every interaction that we've seen of her so far, but I'm hoping that will be something that is explored as far as like character development and her growing out of it. I'm sure we'll definitely go there because, you know, her romantic interest is not about that. He's very against what she does, so I'm sure there will be some moment of growth there, but I can also picture that becoming a third act conflict because she hasn't been completely honest with him about that up to this point. Another thing that I would like to see in this book is, you know, we have this whole plot of like the ghost and the curse, and they're trying to prevent him from leaving, and right now that's where the book seems like it's going. Like, they're just going to get Charlie to stay there. She's helping him out with the business and with the farm, and I want to see, like, sorry, I'm adjusting the pillows. I want to see the curse be explored more. Like, why are they not working to break the curse rather than keep him there? Because obviously this is going to be like an ongoing thing. If it's supposed to stay in this family, then it's just going to go to the next person and then the next person and the next person. So I don't know why thus far in this book they haven't thought of taking that approach, and I'm wondering if that will come in the later pages, if they'll be like, wait a second, what if we just break the curse? And then how they're going to do that, I don't know. But it is cute, it's fun, it's light, I'm enjoying it. We finally got our first kiss, like 220 pages in, and I really liked it. I like the relationship between the two of them because, you know, they definitely have their disagreements and they aren't necessarily friends and they're not like, you know, anything more than friends, but they definitely both have an attraction. There's definitely chemistry there, but they are trying to avoid that, and I think it's written very well within the story, and I really like that. So I'm gonna keep reading. My goal is to finish this tonight, but I don't know when I will come to you guys with another update because tonight we have a hurricane coming towards us, and I work in healthcare. I work in a long-term care facility, which means I need to be there tonight. I will be sleeping at work just in case anything happens. We need all hands on deck. We want to keep our residents safe. So obviously I'm not going to film there although I'm going to bring my book and I'm going to read there, I'm not going to film because I feel like that would just be awkward for everybody. So I will see you guys at some point with an update about my final thoughts on this book.
3 days later.
So I finished Happy Medium a couple of days ago now while I was stuck at work, and I'm finally here to give you guys my final update. I've decided I'm going to give this book 3.5 stars. I thought it was really, really cute. I liked seeing the relationship between our two main characters develop over time, and I think at the end it was just very like sweet and fluffy and light, and I really liked that. It didn't get super, super spicy. Like, yes, there were some sex scenes, but they weren't extremely detailed or very, very steamy. So if that's something that is important to you when you're reading romance, I think this one, like, yes, there's a little bit, but it's not too much compared to some of the other things that I've been reading for this video. I like the way it ended and the way that things wrapped up, and I think the ghost was interesting. I think that whole plot line with the curse was really interesting. I think my favorite thing about this was the setting on this goat farm, because the goats are just so cute and they kind of come into the story a lot, especially in the second half, and I really liked it. So it kind of gave me exactly what I wanted, like these fun, cozy vibes and just a very lighthearted read. So that's all I really have to say about this one. So let's go ahead and move on to book number 2. I've been reading My Killer Vacation off and on, and let's see, I am 30% of the way through, which is page 94. It's been a very quick read. I have read one other book by Tessa Bailey before, so I was expecting this to be a little bit spicier, but it is so cringe. And I didn't realize, like, when I added it to my TBR, I did not look at other reviews, and it has an astounding amount of 1-star reviews, and I get it. And the people that rated this book 5 stars, I'm sorry, but I just don't trust you. I don't think I could trust your opinion on anything if you rated this book 5 stars. And maybe that's mean, but like, oh my god. Okay, let me tell you what the story's about before I start roasting it. I added this to my TBR because the synopsis sounded really interesting, and I know I mentioned I don't think this technically counts as like a spooky romance, but it's not like a traditional romance. There's some darker themes to it. So we have our main character, Taylor. She is a teacher, and she takes her younger brother on vacation to Cape Cod. They got like an Airbnb type of rental beach cottage thing. And when they get there, they find the owner of the rental dead, beaten like to a pulp, and he's dead. So obviously, like, they call the cops or whatever, and the cops are very set on like one guy that did it, but the owner's sister knows a guy who used to be a detective and now is a bounty hunter, so she calls in a favor to have him investigate it because she doesn't trust the police work, which, like, honestly is real. And then our bounty hunter Miles comes in, and this is a very like insta lust story, and that's definitely not my favorite, but I feel like I can tolerate when it's done certain ways, and I can't tolerate the way that it's done in here. Like, there are so many quotes that I highlighted because they're just so cringe, and just like actually, if a man said these words to me, or if I knew a man was thinking these things about me, immediately no. So they meet, and pretty much the first thing he notices is her body, specific parts of her body, and then starts imagining fucking her. Like, you've known this woman for 2 minutes. You don't know her name. You don't know anything about her. Like, and he was thinking about these things in great detail, and I just, like, I don't get it. Another thing that's really irritating me is that she's so little and she's so tiny and he's so big and strong, and he keeps calling her Half Pint. Like, anytime he talks to her, he calls her the nickname Half Pint. And I get it, you know, like the first couple of times, whatever, but literally every single time that he talks to this woman, he calls her Half Pint, and it's just really irritating me. There have also been some very questionable things that he's done and questionable things that he's said to her, and specifically talk about like Taylor wanting to explore like her sexual desires and kinks or whatever, which is perfectly fine, but the way that Miles talks to her about that and the opinions he has on that, I don't really agree with. I think it's really honestly stupid. Basically, he's saying like because she dresses a certain way and appears a certain way that nobody is going to know that she likes different things in bed, and how is she ever going to find the guy that she wants if she dresses like that? And I'm like, I don't know. That just like, it's just a really stupid take to me. And then Taylor is like really internalizing that and being like, oh my god, like, am I doing something wrong? Because maybe I need to start acting a different way or dressing a different way so that men know what I want sexually. And I just like, I don't like that. If you're having such a bad time with this book, if you're criticizing almost everything, why are you still reading it? Honestly, I don't know. It's like a hate read at this point. Like, I'm just going through and highlighting like all the cringy things, even though I can't really share them with you guys because a lot of them are very sexually explicit. This book is just not great, but it's been a quick read, and I'm curious to see where it goes. Like, honestly, I'm interested in like the mystery, like the murder mystery, and that's why I picked this book up in the first place, because I was like, ooh, a murder mystery, and then it's also a romance, and it's a little bit spicy, but it's just like, Miss Tessa Bailey, what the hell are you doing? Anyway, I'm going to continue to read this in little bits and pieces over the next few days as I'm reading other things for this video, so I will keep coming back and updating you guys. Maybe it'll go up. Maybe my rating will improve. We'll see. I don't know. I highly doubt that, but we'll find out. I'm back home now. I ended up spending 2 nights at work, but the hurricane has passed us. Everything's fine. We had some power outages, some downed trees and branches, a lot of flooding, but generally we're okay. We made it. Anyways, I have a lot. At work, I finished Happy Medium. I started Do Your Worst, and then I continued reading My Killer Vacation, and I have about 30 minutes left, so I'm going to finish it today. It is still cringy as ever. I am still highlighting every single time I cringe. I think my main problem with this is like, I don't like the male main character. I don't like the romantic interest, and so I'm not rooting for them. I just think like the way he thinks about things and his opinions on certain things, I don't agree with. I don't like them. And then also the way he's like described physically, like he just kind of sounds like ugly to me. And it's really like throwing off the way that I feel about the book. We also just got the reveal about the whole murder mystery, and I'm trying to find my highlight because I predicted who it was, and I highlighted the moment that I predicted it so that I could come back and be like, I told you that this is what happened. Okay. So it was around like the 50% mark where I highlighted and I had my theory, and now we're 77% of the way through and he's just now figuring it out. And I feel like it was really obvious, but it's clearly like, oh, he's so obsessed with this girl, so he was so distracted and he didn't even see what was right in front of him. But honestly, he's annoying, and that's why I'm not enjoying this book, and the writing is just cringy. I'm going to finish it. I'll let you guys know my final thoughts. I don't want to sit here and roast this too hard, but that's where I'm at for today, so I'll see you guys later. So I have finished My Killer Vacation. I am here to give you guys my final update. First of all, though, I want to talk about the covers, because this is the cover that is on my Kindle, and then there's this other cover that I like a little bit more. I just think it's interesting that she has 2 different hair colors in the covers. I don't know. Do you guys have a preference? Because I like the other one better, the one that's not on Kindle. But let me know what you guys think looks better. Anyways, it will come as no surprise to anybody that I am giving this book 1.5 stars. The only reason I'm giving it that extra like little half star is because I feel like this book could have been a little bit worse than it was. Like, I still made it through the whole thing. It was a very quick read and I was able to finish it, so it's not the worst of the worst. I think I've definitely read worse books than this, but Really, the big thing that I disliked about it was like how cringeworthy everything was. It was not well written, especially like the spicy scenes that didn't really read like those were written by a sexually active adult. And I feel like that sounds a little harsh, but that's just like the vibe it gave off. And then also, like, our male love interest, Miles, I did not like him at all for a few different reasons. And then in my head, I just was picturing him as like not being attractive at all, paired with the fact that I didn't like the words coming out of his mouth and the thoughts in his brain. It just didn't make for a good time because, you know, you want to have a male love interest that you like and you want to have a romance that you can root for, this relationship you can root for, but I was not rooting for the romance at all. I feel like Taylor could do better than Miles, and I just didn't like him. And then everything was making me cringe. The other plot, like the murder mystery plot as well, I feel like wasn't very well fleshed out, which once again, like, this is a romance before anything else. It's not supposed to be a very well crafted like mystery story, but that is still a big part of the plot, so I feel like a little bit of thought at least needs to go into it. And I feel like I said, it was very easy to figure out who the culprit was, what the solution to that all was. So that's a wrap on this one. I will see you guys whenever I start the next read. So I am on to book number 3 now. I am currently reading Do Your Worst by Rosie Danan. This is the same author of the book called The Roommate, which I did read a couple of years ago, and I remember liking it like more than I expected. That was definitely at a time where I wasn't reading as much romance, and it was a little bit steamier, so I was expecting there to be some spice in this one. I am about 180 pages through, and we finally got a very steamy scene, but I actually kind of enjoyed it. Sometimes, like, they're a little bit cringy, but I think that the way this one was written wasn't super cringy, and it doesn't read like it was written by like a high schooler. So let me tell you a little bit about the story, I guess. So we have Riley, who is our female main character, and she is a curse breaker, which I'm still not 100% sure what it means, but I guess it's pretty self-explanatory. Like, her whole family for generations, like, that's just kind of what they've been involved with, is like kind of occult type of stuff and breaking curses for people. And she is really trying to make a business out of it and be like, although her family has been involved in this, like, nobody's ever like made money off of it or created a business or built anything for themselves around this. So she is trying to do that. She is trying to create a curse breaking business. So she gets one of her first really big jobs. She gets hired to go to this castle in Scotland that is notorious for being cursed for hundreds of years, and pretty much her goal is to break that curse. So on her first day arriving, she runs into this man named Clark at the bar. They share some drinks, they share some conversation, they share a little kiss at the end of the night, and all is well. They're very attracted to each other, and then she shows up for her first day of work at this castle, and Clark is there, and he's working as an archaeologist, and he does not believe in any of this. He doesn't believe in the curse at all. He thinks that people that do believe in it are just a little bit stupid. So then there's immediate tension between the two of them because Clark is trying to get Riley kicked off of the job because he thinks it's going to interfere with his work in archaeology and excavating certain artifacts, and he thinks that her being there is going to mess with his job and his timeline, and he's got a lot of not restraints, but like a lot of things riding on this job if he messes it up. So they're very clearly like kind of professional enemies, but then they did share this one night together, so they're also very clearly like attracted to the other person and trying not to think about their attraction to the other person because they're supposed to be hating this other person. So there is a whole lot of sexual tension, and I really like the back and forth between these two characters. I think it's so fun because like there's a clear dislike for each other, but then once again they do have that attraction to each other, so we do get these little like sweet and tender moments in between this discourse, and I think it's really fun. Like I said, about 180 pages in, we just had a very nice steamy scene, which was definitely like 170 pages of sexual tension build up to this point, which was kind of fun. I'm really enjoying this. I think that the relationship between the two of them is really interesting to follow, and then also the curse as well I think is interesting, and I'm curious to see where that goes. I don't think it is the like strongest built out like mystery plot, but that's also not the goal of this book. Like, it is a romance before it's a mystery or anything else. So that's where I'm at with this one. I am going to finish it today. I am a little bit over halfway now, so that shouldn't be very difficult to do, and I'm really excited to see where it goes. Also, a side note, like, ever since I picked up this book, there's been something about this cover that I'm like, I don't know why it feels so familiar to me, but I can't put my finger on it. And after staring at it for a while, like looking at the characters and the position, like the stances that they're doing, tell me this doesn't remind you of a screenshot from the game Episode. Because like that's how the characters stand in Episode, you know? Like, if I can find a picture, I'll try to put it up, but tell me, like, if you've ever played that game or, like, watched people play that game, seen videos of it or screenshots, like, that's exactly the vibe that this is giving off, and I think it's so funny to me because now that's all I think of is, like, this is, like, a storyline in that game, and it's just, it's funny. So, I will be back later, probably after I finish the book, because I don't really have too much to say, except that I'm interested in it, so I'll see you guys later. It's a little later, and I have just officially finished Do Your Worst by Rosie Danan, and I really enjoyed this one. I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I think that the story and the plot was so fun, and I really liked the characters together and seeing them develop throughout the story, especially like their relationship together, but also separately and personally figuring out things about themselves. I think it was well written. I liked both of the characters. I was rooting for the relationship. The spicy scenes I did kind of enjoy. And then also, you know, the plot that is outside of the romance with this castle and the ancient curse that is on it, and the two of them having to work together, put aside their differences in order to kind of figure this out and see if they can break the curse and how to do it. And I really like the way that it came into play and helped in the development of their relationship in a few different ways. Overall, this was just really fun, and so now this is my second book by Rosie Danan that I have enjoyed. I know The Roommate has like a sequel to it that I don't really know what it's about. Let me know if you've read that, if it's good, and if I should read it, but I will definitely be interested to see what else she puts out, and I would definitely read it, I feel like, because I've enjoyed the 2 books from her that I have read. Overall, this was really fun. I think this is definitely my favorite so far that I've read for this video. But now we get to move on to book number 4, which is the last book for this reading vlog and my last book before I get into my all horror reading month of October. So I'm very excited. I look like a mess right now, don't mind me. I've been reading The Dead Romantics and I am now about 200 pages in and I have just forgotten to do an update. So we have this girl named Florence who is our main character, and pretty much her whole life she's been able to see ghosts, and now she's an adult. She has moved away from her hometown and she is a ghost writer for a very popular romance author, and she is really struggling to continue to write these romance books because of a bad breakup that she had in her last relationship, and she's just very lost and struggling in her life. And then she gets a call that her father has died, so she has to travel home to be there for the funeral. And it's kind of fun because their family owns a funeral home in a very small town, so they did pretty much like all the funerals for all of the small town residents. So of course they're going to have her dad's funeral there as well. So now she is dealing with the grief from that and trying to be present for her family and help out with running this funeral, but then she's also dealing with these pressures from work and her new editor and the deadline for this book that she has to write, but she can't conjure up like the ability to write any more romance at this moment. So she's just having a tough time, and then she sees this ghost, and it's actually the ghost of her brand new editor who just mysteriously died. So she's very confused because she just saw him like the day before, and now he's here as a ghost. He has followed her back to her like hometown, and then he's also confused because he doesn't know like what's going on, how he got there, why he's there, like why is he now dead. And then we just have this romance forming between the two of them. So this is Ashley Poston's debut novel, and I think that there's definitely a big difference between this one and The 7-Year Slip. I think the writing has definitely improved a lot. I just think that's very evident when I think back on The 7-Year Slip and how much I really enjoyed that one. The writing in this is not like explicitly bad, it's just definitely not near that same level. There's also like a lot of like weird kind of painfully millennial phrases in here. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like our main character is in her late 20s and she says things like doggo, or she refers to her coffee as zoom zoom juice, and it's really taking me out of the story. As for the relationship itself, I think that could be built out a little bit more. I'm not really picking up on the chemistry and the connection that these two characters are supposed to have. They really haven't known each other for very long, maybe about a week, and that includes when this man was alive and now that he's a ghost. It's really only been about a week since they first met, and they are already like having this attraction to each other, and I'm just not picking up on that. I know that Florence was very attracted to this man like physically when they first met. They did share a kiss late one night, but now he's a ghost and she's still physically attracted to him, but they don't really have like any sort of deeper connection than that. Like I'm not seeing the two of them have like deep conversations and really getting to know one another, not to mention like he's literally a ghost. Like I feel like, okay, if he was alive and you formed this like really deep bond and then all of a sudden he's dead, and I could see that bond transferring from like life onto death, but because they didn't really have any sort of bond that went beyond physical attraction while he was alive, I just don't understand why she's so like enamored with him as a ghost. I don't know, I'm just not picking up on the chemistry there, but I am enjoying the story for what it is, and I'm enjoying Florence's journey like personally as she figures out a lot of things and deals with the grief of losing her father. And I'm liking all these little snippets that we get, flashbacks to her childhood and things that she would do with her dad, and I think it's really fun, like all these anecdotes they have from growing up owning a funeral home. And when Florence was really young, they did live in the funeral home. Her father, you know, they were always very comfortable talking about death, which is something that I appreciate. They would go out to graveyards, which I used to do with my dad. We used to go on late night walks to cemeteries and lay down and stargaze. So I feel like Florence and I have some similarities in our father-daughter relationships, which I think is really fun, and I'm really enjoying all of those aspects of it, but the romance is definitely lacking for me. So I am over halfway now. I am going to finish this, and I will come back and let you guys know my final thoughts. I have just finished The Dead Romantics, and I think I'm going to give this one 3 stars. It was a cute book, but once again, I feel like I just wish some things were more like fleshed out, specifically with the romance and the 2 main characters that we have and their relationship. I feel like I never really felt fully connected to them and their relationship to each other. Like I said, it kind of felt more of like a physical attraction than any sort of deeper connection, and I just wish there was more time spent building that connection. Once again, the writing itself wasn't really like as polished and as good as I was expecting. Not that it's necessarily bad, but some of the dialogue seemed a little bit strange as well. And overall, I just feel like I wanted a little bit more, and I can't really pinpoint specific things. Like, aside from the chemistry between the two main characters, I still feel like there was something lacking in this book, and I just can't quite put my finger on it. It was a cute story. There were a lot of cute elements, and things that I did enjoy, but overall, like, I just feel very neutral towards it, which is why I'm landing on 3 stars. I do want to continue to read from Ashley Poston. I really want to pick up her newest one, a novel love story, but this one was just okay for me. But I do think it's interesting that this was her first like adult romance novel, and that's how I feel about it. But then the 7-Year Slip, I absolutely loved, gave it 5 stars. So I feel like hopefully this will continue to be a trend and we'll just see improvement in all of her books. But I liked it. I'm glad I read it, and that brings us to the end of the video. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.